Hi, this is Ricki Spencer, trans sociologist, and today we have a special guest, Jodie. Jodie is a activist in the trans community. She's also a paid worker at Koorie Pride and a fitness specialist. Welcome, Jodie.
Thanks, Ricki. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you interested in the fitness industry?
A few years ago, I think I moved back to Melbourne in 2018, and with 25 years worth of experiences in a whole lot of different sports and whatnot, decided to try my hand at dancing.
Oh, okay.
And that really lit a fire under pursuing all of the recent health and fitness things I've been trying out lately.
And tell us a little bit about the dancing, because I read somewhere that it took you overseas.
Yes, chronologically, straight into ballroom dancing. Then I thought, this is okay. Started swing dancing, and I thought this was fantastic. And then I went into ballet, and it's my favorite area to sort of stay in terms of dancing. And then I realized I just really loved to dance. So I decided to start using some of my electives at university to travel over to Auckland and study choreography up there. And yeah, that's how that one rolled about. And that was only, I think it was the year before last, actually, right before lockdown.
Just before lockdown.
Yeah.
Tell us, Jodie, when you were going to do your dance overseas, at that stage, had you affirmed your gender? Or were you still living as or presenting as a male?
At that point, I had begun to tease the idea in my head. I had a decade under my belt of feeling not quite right, but trying to push it to the side and just ignore it for a bit. And then I think it was only 4 months after that, actually, that I decided to properly and proactively, consciously make some effort into exploring that part of myself. That was approximately 2 years ago. At that point, I was still presenting masculine.
How did that impact you with dancing? Because did you feel somehow that you were like a fraud, like dancing in a way that you perhaps saw other women who are dancing and you're thinking to yourself, I really want to be the way they're dancing?
Yeah, actually, you nailed it. So that's a thought that went through my head more or less constantly. But ballet is kind of a really gendered place to be. I mean, ballroom definitely is. Swing dancing, not so much. That one's a little bit more flexible. But, the energy when I was doing ballet, a lot of the fundamentals I was learning, because let's be honest, I might love to dance, but not the best dancer. I was learning some of the fundamentals at that time, and yeah, I was trying to reconcile the way that I feel with the way that I enjoyed moving, and then trying to match those two together. Okay. And I was lucky. I went to 3 ballet studios. The first 2 were a little bit more traditional, and so they really wanted to hold on to some of those highly gendered themes, ways of doing things.
Oh, okay.
But then I found this other studio, and the teacher there was like, look, I'm going to ask you to do this, I'm going to ask you to do that, how does everyone feel? And I just put my hand up and said, can I just not? And my teacher was just like, yeah, that's super okay. Who gives a damn? Do what the rest of the class is doing. And I was the only masculine presenting person in the class. And yeah, I was able to just be myself in a ballet studio and learn how to dance the way I wanted to do that. And I feel like that's a very big privilege. And I have to acknowledge that not everyone finds those opportunities.
Yeah. Do you feel that particular moment that dance teacher gave you that permission for Jodie to be herself in that space? Did that and had it created an awakening for you?
Definitely can't count on 2 hands, but there's a lot of points where it was a bit more I make an attempt to be myself, collect the feedback that I get from my environment, internalize that experience, and then try again in a different place.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people's progression into exploring themselves and their identities is the same, but in my instance, it was a lot more about testing different behaviors, testing different clothes, testing different ways of talking or expressing the knowledge that I had for something. In a lot of spaces, it might not be too, I guess, masculine, especially in, like, let's just say the Aussie trade environment, to talk about listening to Britney Spears with someone like that. My point is that I really tried and made a conscious effort to explore the way that I related to the place around me. And that example of being in that class, Point Nation, and my teacher's name is Liz. And she was easily one of the best contributors to my feeling like it's okay to start expressing myself and be my person. So,
did you feel that dancing was a space and place for someone who was coming to terms with their authentic self, a safe place to explore that way of being?
To say a dance studio is a safe place to do that, I can't really say yes, because dancing is traditionally entirely like a really a gendered kind of activity, because of how Western everything is right now. A lot of the dance styles I wanted to do, I was attracted to systems that had that binary, because I'm a binary trans woman. And a lot of places I went to felt very exclusionary. And I say that because I also want to say that there's a lot of dancing you can do, like hip hop and stuff. It doesn't matter who you are or what you can do. It's still something you can enjoy. But some of the things I wanted to do still lived inside that binary. And a lot of places I went to didn't have that safe sort of space. That said, the studio I did find, and there are more like it, there are others, but the studio I found just happened to have someone who was in charge, who could really speak to, well, I don't know if they put much effort in, because they just seemed to be able to provide that space instinctively, but they really made the place a lot easier for me to be in.
And your love and interest of fitness is perhaps related to your love of dancing. How did you kind of get involved in fitness? Did that come after dancing?
When I started being proactive with my gender affirming activities, I took a break from the health and fitness space. I didn't dance for a year and a half. I haven't gone swimming yet. Since then, I haven't done really any team sports. Until that one time, there's a climbing group called the Climbing QTs, and they invited me out to go climbing, just with a clique. There's like 15 of us, and I was like, oh, well, why not? Actually, I decided to go about 40 minutes before my friends came to pick me up to take me, so it was very off the cuff. But it was easily one of the times where I realized it's okay to be myself, and start doing and being physical and interacting with the world the way that I'd like to. And then I went on that camp and came back, and I was like, okay, great, this is fantastic. I started dancing again. Yeah, I kind of just started thinking of a career in what it might be in health and fitness, and started doing my certificates. And for the past 3 months, I've been looking for a gym to help me finish my work experience, work placement, and my shadowing for my certificates. Anyone who's started a career in health and fitness will tell you it's not the easiest to find someone to volunteer their time to give you some work experience. But I feel like it's a challenge that I've managed to find the energy for through people like Liz, and everyone at Climbing QTs. And it wasn't easy. I didn't just get permission like that. It takes a lot of conscious effort to keep deciding to put myself in the situations again. But I can definitely credit them for helping me get this far. And also to speak to a bit more about how I relate to health and fitness. I used to do motocross, a lot of hiking, horse riding. I used to muster cattle on horseback in far north Queensland.
Okay.
I used to swim in a squad when I was younger, did gymnastics, worked for a circus, a lot of different...
Okay.
Yeah.
Working for a circus.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Back in the day, it was a while ago.
Let's go down that path. Jodie working in a circus. Okay. What did you do?
I did have a clown act, but I only did it once. And it was really fun. For the most part, I did fire twirling, and then I did a little bit of acro for a couple of times, but it was mostly just fire twirling.
So tell me that feeling of putting on that mask of a performer. Do you think that helped you shape the person you are today?
Yes and no. Anyone who's gone on this journey can say that, you know, they spend a lot of time doing what performing is. A lot of the time people get locked into their performance, and you can't kind of get out because it's a safe space to start performing like that. You put up a persona and people see that and they don't see who you are. So no, in the sense that it helped me ignore who I would like to have been.
Okay.
But also, yes, because it helped me start trying out who I wanted to be. And all the tools that anyone would have when they speak to, you know, being someone that they have to be in certain situations. There's a lot of tools there in that space that helps someone explore who they might want to be, or, you know, might like to be, or might try to be. And I think it's definitely a conversation worth having when you talk about, you know, people who have to pretend all the time. But there's a lot to that, I think.
And tell me, Jodie, if we can now go a little bit deeper into your identity, Jodie. Tell us a little bit about your heritage background.
Okay, so my last name is Singh Nagyivan. To just put it all on the table, Singh is my Aboriginal family name. I get the name Singh from my Yarrawalwaka peoples near Inaminka, which is on the very corner of Queensland where it meets South Aussie.
Yeah.
And then my Aboriginal family is also Gunakurnai mob in Gippsland way. And obviously a lot of people would know that Singh is a Sikh last name, and I also have Sikh heritage too. And then my other side of my family, Nagyivan, is actually Hungarian. A lot of the time be reminded of my Romani heritage growing up as well.
One of the things that I've shared with people has been my struggle with finding out that I was adopted and being from the stolen generation, and thinking to myself, why was I born fair-skinned, and wishing I was darker skinned just so I could feel like a sense of belonging. Have there been times in your life where you've had to or you have been challenged about your Aboriginality by people?
Oh yeah, especially with the last name Singh. I feel like in a lot of spaces, and a lot of mob can relate to this, you know, a lot of people from like a mainstream Australia would say things like, oh, you know, like you're one of the good ones, or you're one of this and one of that, and straight away there's a desire to split from like your heritage, and a desire to like start performing as quote unquote one of the good ones. And then with the last name Singh, it's like, oh, are you actually Aboriginal? And so I got a lot of challenge for my identity up front, and that's talking from the age of 6.
Oh, from age of 6 already you were being challenged.
Yeah, teachers would say things like...
So you actually had teachers ask you, oh, what's...
Yeah, teachers, students, these people. Especially students' mothers.
How did you internalise, or you've come to a realisation about seeing yourself as a sister girl?
I think it was about a year ago. I was in a peer support group, and I was trying to be the support and a peer, inside and outside of the peer support. And I remember being there, and someone was like, any brother, boys, sister, girls here? And I'm like, wait, can I say that? Am I that? I'm like, typing in the thing. Is that me? Can I say that about myself? Asking for permission. Because I was like, I didn't know if I could say that. And I've since found out, yes, it's very true, sister girl. It's okay. But it's a space that you have to kind of stay connected to and rekindle whenever you end up.
And tell us now, Jodie, you're working with the Koorie Pride Victoria. Mm. Tell us a little bit about Koorie Pride Victoria. Who's it for? And what role do you do within that space?
I'm the support coordinator for Koorie Pride Victoria. I support my manager, Alison Toby, who right now is getting ready to do some community engagement over in Western Victoria this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and speaking to that, Koorie Pride Victoria at the moment is kind of in an infancy stage. Mm-hmm. We've been around for a couple of years. I've only been on board for about 4 months. A lot of the work we've been doing lately is around community engagement. Mm-hmm. We're trying to see if there's a way we can start connecting to people, holding lines open to any of the other agencies around the state, especially rural Victoria, to be a place where, any other Aboriginal community controlled organisation can reach out to and say, hey, we've got these questions, or we've got these people approaching us for services. How do we better do that? And so we're trying to make sure that we can exist as an entity to help any of the services in wider Victoria and in Melbourne to be better equipped at supporting Rainbow Mob, LGBTQ Indigenous folks around Victoria.
Do you feel that in some ways COVID has been a help in terms for people in our community coming together who perhaps were shy in that process to come into a safe space on Zoom? Or do you think it's stopped people from wanting to explore their queerness and Indigenousness?
I feel like the conversation about how exactly COVID played a role in this, I think it's funny. I feel like for the first time in a lot of people's lives, people were forced to sit down and get to know themselves. You couldn't leave the house, and if you got bored of Netflix, all you had was a wall to look at. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people had the opportunity to look inward and try and figure out, be in their own company, see if they can enjoy that. And I happen to be someone who sat down with myself and, I was living in a dormitory at Monash University for most of lockdown, which is such a small space, smaller than most people's bathrooms. I had to sit down and just be with myself, and I didn't really like myself. I was like, you're kind of annoying.
Okay.
So there was cause for a bit of internal research and exploring that and seeing how I relate to the world. And, COVID really kind of forced people, including myself, to have to go through that experience. But I also think that forcing a lot of people to do that, an illness that forced people to do that, I guess it promoted people's ability to try and use the internet to relate to others. But I feel like also if someone couldn't do that easily enough, it locked people from being able to communicate online, which I guess just speaks to the wide range of experiences everyone had during.
Tell me, Jodie, what's in store for you for the next 3 to 6 months?
Definitely within 6 months, I'll be finishing a certificate for my health and fitness. Got a symposium coming up in June. One of the most exciting things, and it's kind of a detour from the whole work element, I just went and got some clothes and whatnot to try and get back into swimming. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we see Jodie becoming a next fitness instructor out, taking new clients.
that's the plan. The original idea here is to be someone who can give a space for trans and gender diverse Koories around Victoria, or just rainbow mob in general, and see if there's anyone who needs a safer space, just a safer space to build that relationship with your body, nurture what health and fitness means to themselves, and see if they can't, find ways to incorporate, different things to live a different lifestyle if that's what they want to do. Health and fitness, I think, is a space that doesn't really give many people the opportunity to just be who they are. There's a lot of standards out there, and one of the places I work for, non-gender fitness, really, really promote the idea that it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, what you're working with in terms of mind or body. Health and fitness is an important and really beneficial thing to involve in your life. And I just wanted to give that to mob. Hopefully, in about 6 months, maybe a bit longer. I don't know. I've got a lot on. I'll be able to do that. And that's my plan.
Jodie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Jodie talk about her life, her journey, welcoming us to the world of a dancer, activist, and corporate trainer in the future. All her wonderful work. Thank you.